Hey, everybody, welcome back to the SuperBake podcast. I'm your host, SuperBake. Let's talk about stuff. I started watching The Pit on HBO. That show is incredible. I don't really watch a lot of medical dramas. I know the main actor, Noah Wiley, he was on the show ER. My mom loves that show. She's gone back and rewatched it. That was like from the 90s, and he was a lot younger on there. Now he's like, I think, in his 50s, and he's the main character on this show. And for a while, when I saw the trailers for it, I actually thought this was supposed to be like a continuation of ER. But apparently it's not. It's a completely different show. It has nothing to do with that. So it's been really good, though. I just finished episode, I think, 6, and yeah, it's been just phenomenal. Like, not just from the acting, but even like just the realism of the show. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I can't really speak to like the medical terminology, but like, really seems like they've done a good job of capturing the atmosphere of being in an emergency room. So, I mean, for my money, I'm really enjoying it. I also like the structure of the show too. Like, I like that it basically covers the entire season covers like a 15-hour shift. So each episode is an hour of the shift. So like episode 1 is like 8 a.m. and then episode 2 is 9 a.m. and then 10 a.m. and so on. Kind of makes me think of the show 24 in a sense, the way it's structured. But yeah, really good show. If you haven't seen it yet and you've got HBO Max, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's really good. I may do a review of just the entire season whenever I'm done with it, but yeah, it's been solid so far. But anyway, tonight I'm going to give my reviews for the episode 4 of The Last of Us season 2, which is titled Day 1, and then I'll also give my thoughts on the latest trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6, which is set to release next year. Technically, the trailer came out a few days ago at the time of this recording, but I just wanted to give my overall thoughts on it. It's been a while since I've gotten any news about that game, so it's kind of exciting to get something solid for GTA 6. I keep wanting to say 5 for some reason. I have no idea why. We already had 5 like 10 fucking years ago. And it's been re-released like God knows how many times on like the PS3 and the PS4 and the PS5. So it's like we don't need any more GTA 5. We've had our fill. At least I have. But anyways, Last of Us Day 1. So this follows Ellie and Dina on their search to find Abby and her group, and we get to see a lot more of their characters, their interactions in this episode, which I personally really appreciated. In many ways, I liked the character moments in this episode more than what we've gotten in previous episodes this season so far. Like season 3, it kind of felt like we were getting a little bit more of that with some side character conversations going on, like with Tommy and Gail, for example. But in this one, we get a lot more of Ellie and Dina. They're really the focus of this episode. And we're also introduced to the antagonist, or at least I would argue one of the main antagonists of the game, which is Isaac, who is played in this show by Jeffrey Wright, who also played him in the game, I believe. And we get to see a flashback from 11 years ago with Isaac's character, where he's part of this group of Fedra soldiers, and we see him and kind of the events that led up to his current character in the show. Don't want to get too far in depth in that. I'll kind of leave some of the finer details if you want to go check out the show. But Jeffrey Wright is a phenomenal actor. And it's really cool that he played Isaac both in the game and now he's also reprising that same character in the show. Man, just the intensity he brings to this character in this scene with the soldiers, like just whenever he speaks in that scene, you can tell the other soldiers really take what he says like very seriously, more than just because like he's their commanding officer. There's just this sense of foreboding to him that's just really palpable. Also, just kind of a side note, I noticed it looked like Josh Peck from Drake and Josh was in that cameo. Like he was one of the soldiers. As soon as I saw his face, like he's got a very recognizable face, and I just immediately was like, "Is that freaking like Josh from Drake and Josh?" That was so weird. I mean, it's a very small like cameo, but like it was just kind of funny to see him in a show like this, like such a serious show to see him in here. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. Just caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. Then the story bounces to Dina and Ellie, who are kind of searching around for supplies, and we do get kind of a confirmation this episode with Dina and the pregnancy. We see her actually looking at pregnancy tests. So I kind of got that indication from the last episode that she was pregnant. I remember that was a big part of the game, a fairly major story element. So we pretty much get the confirmation in this scene and a scene later on that I'll talk about here in a little bit. One scene in particular in this episode that I really enjoyed, just from an emotional perspective, was when Ellie finds this guitar while they're looking for supplies. She finds this guitar, and we actually see her playing Take On Me. And she says that Joel taught her how to play the guitar. This was a nice callback to the previous episode where Joel finds her guitar and he wants to work on it and try to clean it up and stuff. And I remember that was also a part of the game too, when Joel walks in and he plays the guitar for Ellie. He plays this song that he wrote for her. It's a very sweet moment between these two characters. This was a nice callback to his character and just the impact that he had on Ellie. And I liked that little detail. I like that the show took the time to show that this man really did have an impact on Ellie. And despite their differences, despite her being pissed off at him for what he did, it does show that he did have a direct impact on her. Not just in the fact that he saved her life, but also just in terms of like some of her interests, like the fact that she now knows how to play the guitar because of him. It's a nice little sweet moment. And I think it's made even better by the fact that Dina walks in and actually starts tearing up listening to Ellie play the song. Right off the bat, I just want to say the actress Isabella Merced, I said her name before. I really hope I'm not butchering it. Besides Jeffrey Wright, I think she's been a highlight of this season so far. Like just the moments like this scene where she watches Ellie play the guitar and just watching her expression and just the way she tears up watching her play this song is like it's a really nice beautiful scene and like just the sun in the background shining in on Ellie, like the cinematography on this season has really been on point. If nothing else, I would definitely say that this has been a very beautiful episode to watch for sure. So yeah, all the stuff with Ellie and Dina is actually a lot better in this show. We get more character moments between those two, which I think was something that this season was missing so far. I don't necessarily think that they always hit as much as they probably should. I'll kind of get into that here in a little bit. It's mainly just the relationship between these two characters, but I'll go into that here shortly. Also, I just want to say the scene where they're walking through that abandoned town looking for Abby's group and like they get on the tank, it kinda gave me flashbacks of The Walking Dead. The when Rick finds the tank in Atlanta and he gets trapped in there, except of course in this scene that doesn't happen, but, like, I like how Ellie just slams the lid down and makes all that noise. You would think just given the fact that there's 2 of them, they'd be a little bit more cognizant of the fact that there could be enemies around. I thought that was kind of dumb. And then also the fact that, Dina just stands in the middle of the street when she draws her gun, like, maybe take cover. Like, I don't know, it just feels like that's something that would be the first thing that I would have done in the game. Like, when I'm playing The Last of Us Part 2, I'm in the shadows, man. I ain't standing out in the middle of the fucking street. That's when you get picked off or you get your ass bit by a freaking clicker. So yeah, I just thought that was a dumb little thing that they had for their characters, especially since Dina shows that she's pretty intelligent in the previous episode. She shows that she plans ahead. She's got a lot of common sense and street smarts when it comes to stuff like this, when it comes to survival. So for her to do that to me just felt kind of out of character and just plain silly. Another scene in this episode that was a real highlight for me was we get to see Isaac, and it's basically present day Isaac now torturing one of the scars because Isaac is now part of the WLF. He's part of the Washington Liberation Front, and we see him torturing a scar for information. There's this ongoing war between the scars and the wolves, and Isaac is trying to get information out of the scar to figure out when the next attack is going to take place. And what I love about this scene, and I don't think this was in the game, this really gives us insight into Isaac's character. He We see him as he's talking about these cooking pans. And there's this one French cooking pan that he talks about how he always wanted it, but he never got to have it. But now that it's the end of the world, basically, he's gotten to have it. And I like how he remarks upon like how there are some hidden advantages in a sick, twisted way to living in the apocalypse. But it shows like, yeah, this is a person. Like this is a person who had a life prior to all of this shit happening. And I really like that about his character. I like that they took the time to reveal that about him. From what I remember of Isaac from the game, it's been a little while, but I don't remember too much about his past being shown. I remember when he's shown in Abby's part of the story, and I don't remember a whole lot beyond that. I'd have to go back and watch the cutscenes from the game again. I may have to do that just to kind of remind myself of like just I guess some of his moments within the story. But this definitely felt like a nice little insight into his character, giving you the impression that yeah, this is a person who had goals and aspirations before all of this happened. And in some ways, it kind of makes him a little bit scarier, in my personal opinion. Just the idea that a human being could be capable of doing this. A guy who, by all accounts, before the apocalypse, before the cordyceps took over, might have been a chef. He seemed like he showed aspirations to be a chef. He mentions that that was one of the ways that he would, go pick up women. So that was It was a cool little insight into his character and a nice little detail. And what I really love about this scene is how dark it gets so fast because you don't see who he's talking to. You know he's talking to somebody. It's in a kitchen, it's relatively clean looking, and the pans that he's looking at are a little burnt on the bottoms, but beyond that, they look relatively fine. So you're kind of thinking, oh, okay, this must be maybe like a casual conversation between him and maybe that soldier that he took with him from 11 years ago. And what I like is when he's talking about the pan, he talks about how it's made of copper, so it conducts faster, but it doesn't retain heat. And he goes, and it's a really dark line that he delivers, and he says, "This is really great for cooking, but not so much for interrogations." And then it moves over to the scar, and you see them just lying naked on the ground. And man, you see everything. It's like full frontal nudity. I forgot. Yeah, this is HBO. You get that shit in these shows, but man, that was a brutal scene. Just and you can tell he'd been torturing this guy for a while, and yeah, just like the lacerations on this guy's body, just the way he'd been beaten and stuff like that, and just looked like he was about ready to shit himself just from having to go through all this stuff. And then also just the way Isaac's so calm in this scene, it's like, yeah, it's makes him that much scarier to me. And he uses that pan, he puts it on the burner and uses it to torture the scar. Oh my god, that scene. God, that was brutal. And then we also get to see that soldier again from 11 years ago, who definitely seems like at this point he's completely brainwashed by Isaac. So another nice little detail. I like that they brought him back. I like that they showed the influence that Isaac seems to have on people. It almost kind of feels like it's kind of a cult influence, which is, I guess, kind of part of his character from the game, from what I remember. Again, can't remember too well, but yeah, I like that little detail. Like the other soldier almost kind of feels sorry for the scar, but Isaac's soldier is just kind of like, nah, fuck him. So it's like it kind of shows like just the influence Isaac's had on this kid. And yeah, just the oh my god, when they show the scar's hand after the burn, man, that was yeah, that was brutal to watch. Jeffrey Wright to me, this was a highlight scene. Like he just nails this scene. The intensity as he goes from being relatively calm and collected to losing his shit on this guy is just like, yeah, definitely one of the best parts of the episode, in my personal opinion. And then after that, we get to see Ellie and Dina dealing with some WLF soldiers as they move closer and closer towards one of their bases. I guess a building they were holding up in. This scene reminded me kind of like some of the gameplay you would do in the second game, where you're sneaking around and you're trying to take out WLF soldiers. And this is kind of one of my criticisms of the episode, and kind of I guess the season in general. And I think I said something similar about season one as well. In this scene, we do get to see them take out a couple soldiers using stealth tactics, like what you would do from the game, which I actually really appreciated. I like that they took the time to put that in the episode. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, just because that was such a big part of the game. At least for me personally, I always tried to. You really couldn't run and gun in the Last of Us series because you had such limited ammo and supplies. You really had to be very careful with your inventory, especially like bullets and things like that. And also melee weapons would break too. So it wasn't like you could just run around with a baseball bat that you found and just keep beating enemies, forever. Like eventually that weapon would break and you'd have to scramble to find another one. And sometimes that wouldn't be a possibility because either limited supplies lying around or you might just get overwhelmed by enemy soldiers or even cordyceps like the infected. So it was cool to see we got to see more stealth mechanics in this episode in this one particular scene. But it would have been nice if we could have gotten just a little bit more of that, at least in my personal opinion. Also, just before the scene even took place, before the soldiers even showed up, I do like how we see like what the scars do to people. Like we see like those mutilated bodies hanging from the ceiling. And it almost kind of turns into sort of like a miniature horror movie from this point on, like from this little stretch of the episode. Like just the dark lighting, and then you see like the bodies hanging up on the ceiling. Like it was genuinely creepy. And then we move on to what I also felt was another highlight of the episode when Ellie and Dina are chased by the soldiers into the subway tunnel. Now, again, I don't remember if this particular scene was in the game. I do remember in the second game there was a scene where Dina or Ellie does end up in the subway tunnels, but I don't remember if it was here or if it's later. But in this particular scene, we see them end up in the subway tunnels and just a huge horde of infected come running after them. And a little detail they added into this scene that I really like, it was a nice callback to the first episode, was it shows Dina counting the number of infected based on the shrieks that they hear. and she's holding up her hand, counting with her fingers, and we can see just from her that like it's more than she can count, which means there's a lot of them coming, which was genuinely unnerving. And I like that little callback because we saw that in the first episode where she's able to kind of use the screeches to identify how many there are. That's a nice little detail about her character, so I appreciate that they kept that in there. Like these little character moments that we got in this episode, I actually really appreciated. And then, of course, it leads to a pretty intense scene where they're on the subway trying to get away from the infected and stuff like that. One thing I'll definitely say about this scene, though, kind of back to like with the scene with the tank, is it's kind of a common sense thing. Like they jump in, they climb on top, and then they jump into the subway car, and then they have to kind of fight their way through it as they make their way towards the exit. But then they have to get back out on top anyway. In my opinion, I feel like if you're already on top of the thing, why not just stay on top? The infected, it seemed like they were having trouble climbing up the damn thing, so why not just stay up there? Like, I would not drop down in there because number one, you don't know what's in there. You don't know if there's more infected bodies in there or if one of the soldiers may have somehow jumped in or something like that. Plus, you don't know if that thing's going to hold together or not. And it actually doesn't. They break through the windows at one point and actually try to get to them. So, yeah, like to me, it just made more sense to stay on top of it from the beginning. So that scene again, it's kind of like with the scene with the tank. I just kind of felt like, yeah, just use some common sense there. Just stay on top of it. You've got the high ground at that point. They got to climb up to get to you. It doesn't make sense to jump down in there, in my personal opinion. But this basically leads to Ellie getting bit in front of Dina, and Dina. It's finally revealed to her that Ellie is immune. And I forgot about that. I forgot that Dina didn't know that. I knew Joel knew, obviously, but nobody in town knew because they didn't want Joel and Tommy didn't want the people to know about that because they didn't know how people would respond to it. At least that was my understanding. So, and again, this shows another solid scene from Dina's character, from her actress. Like the confrontation between the two of them after Ellie gets bit is a genuinely it's a tense moment because from Dina's perspective, she has no idea what's about to happen. She thinks that Ellie is about to die. And she even says, like, don't make this harder, which to me makes sense. It's like she really cares about Ellie. And in this scene, like you can see like just the agony in her face, thinking that somebody that she really cares about is potentially gone. And then of course Ellie reveals to her that she's actually immune, and then Dina reveals to Ellie in this moment that she's actually pregnant. And then we get the two of them making out, and I gotta say, even though I liked Ellie and Dina's relationship in the game, in the show, the relationship between these two just doesn't feel authentic to me. I think I said this in the first episode. It just doesn't feel like these two have chemistry. It's not the actresses and it's not necessarily the writing. It's just, I don't know, something about it's not clicking for me. Like in this scene when they start kissing, it just, I don't know, it felt off to me. Maybe some people will disagree with me on that. That's just my personal opinion, but I just it felt like if this is going to be a big moment for a kiss, it definitely felt like it should have been more organic. It should have felt more. I don't know. I guess I don't really know quite the right way to describe it, but just something felt like it was missing from this scene. I mean, it's a sweet moment between these two characters as we see Ellie and Dina come closer together. Their relationship begins to develop, and it seems like they're actually a couple now, which is nice. And it's a good thing for Ellie's character too, because she obviously really cares about Dina. But I don't know, just something about this from an emotional character perspective, it just felt like it was missing an ingredient. So, and I think for me, it was just the lack of chemistry between these two characters. Maybe that's something that will be worked on in further episodes. I'm not really sure on that, but that's just my personal opinion. And then after that episode, it basically ends with Ellie and Dina discovering, I think it's either the base or just a building where the wolves have holed up in, and Dina basically wants to be with Ellie essentially and see the entire thing all the way through. And then it ends on that note. So I'll just kind of go over might give my overall thoughts on the episode. In my personal opinion, I think this was my personal favorite episode of the season so far. We got to see more character moments between Ellie and Dina. We got to see them, moving about without Joel, without Tommy, and just seeing these two characters moving the story along. And I think they did really great. Bella Ramsey and Isabella Merced, I think, do great with their roles. We get introduced to Jeffrey Wright as Isaac, who is fantastic in his scene. I love the scene in the beginning where he's with the soldiers. I love when he's torturing the Scar. It's a great moment with his character. And again, it's nice to see him reprise his character from the game in the show. That was a cool moment. And I also like the touching moment with Ellie and the guitar. I like watching Dina's reaction to that. It was a nice little sweet character moment that I think really helped make these two characters, their relationship, seem more believable. Unfortunately, like I said before, as far as negatives go, I feel like Ellie and Dina's relationship, it just feels forced to me. It doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel like there's much chemistry between these two characters. And I think that's the biggest problem that I have with their relationship in the show. And also, too, I would have liked to have just seen more mechanics from the game incorporated into the show. Like I said before, like the stealth mechanics. That would have been nice to see. I mean, I think they do what they can with the runtime that they're given. Obviously, in the game, you have more time to have moments like that. So it makes sense that they wouldn't want to devote too much time to it. But still, it would be nice if maybe in future episodes, if we could get more tense moments where the characters have to like sneak around either the infected or around enemy soldiers like the wolves or the scars. So I'll wait and see like how they handle that. But yeah, in my personal opinion, though, I think I liked the last episode. I think this one was even better. Like, I think this one had fewer, like, shots that I liked, like episode 3 did, but even so, I just think overall the acting was great, the character moments were better, and again, it's I'm curious to see what they do with both Ellie and Dina's character. I wanna see more from Isaac's character, as well as, like, what he's gonna do with the wolves, and I'm interested to see more of the Scars character, because so far we haven't seen a whole lot of them, they've kinda been in the background a little bit. We kinda got a glimpse of one of their groups in the previous episode before they got wiped out, so I'm really curious to see more of them as the season goes on. But yeah, overall, solid episode, and I feel like season 2 keeps getting better, at least with the latest 2 episodes. All right, so now I'll give my thoughts to the new trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6. So the game, it was announced that it is going to release May 26th of 2026. I think initially it was supposed to come out this year, is my understanding, but Rockstar Studios ended up pushing it back. And actually, funny, not to get too far off topic, but like I keep screwing up and mixing up Rockstar Studios with I think Rocksteady, but I realize there are two different studios. I think, or maybe not. I'm dumb, but anyways, yeah, like I feel like I've done that in my podcast before, like where I'll say Rocksteady when I mean Rockstar. But anyway, yeah, the game was supposed to come out later this year, but they pushed it back to next year. And yeah, I remember seeing the original trailer that was released for it. I think what, a year or two ago, something like that. I feel like it was a while back. And I remember being pretty impressed with it, but I didn't really have too many strong feelings about it one way or the other. I just kind of thought, okay, it's another Grand Theft Auto game. Like I love the Grand Theft Auto series. Like I played 3 even though I never beat it. I played most of Vice City. I played GTA. I said I played San Andreas, really liked that. I remember I got relatively far in San Andreas. I never quite beat it. I got all the way to the final city, and there was like one mission that kept failing because I can't remember what it was. It was like bugging out on me or something like that. But I played enough of it to unlock all the different areas, so that way I could just use the cheat codes and just go on a rampage. That was always my favorite part of that game, like, just going into San Andreas and just, like, unlocking the tank, and then just, like, what I would do is I would pivot the turret around and then just keep blasting so that I could just launch the tank through the air. And then, what was it? I remember in that game, you could unlock a jetpack and just fly around the city, and I think you could use, like, a machine gun and just blast people. Sounds like such a fucking messed up thing to do, but that's just what I did with Grand Theft Auto. I would just go on a rampage. I would only play enough of the story to really get as far as I needed to play in the later areas, but, like, that's how I played those games. And then, yeah, GTA 4, I never got that far into it. GTA 5, really liked. I feel like I beat it, but I don't remember a whole lot about it. But I remember, like, I liked Trevor's character, Franklin was cool. It was a really awesome game. And I have to say, right off the bat, just looking at this game, it's very impressive for how big I'm sure this game's going to be. I don't know the exact size of like the map, but I would assume it's going to be huge. As far as the setting goes, it looks like this takes place in Leonida. Leonida, I'm not sure if that's what it's called. It's basically a fictional U.S. version of Florida. On a side note, I didn't realize the Grand Theft Auto series takes place in a fictional version of the US. I mean, I knew the cities were fictional, like Vice City. I knew that wasn't real, Los Santos. But for some reason, like I thought it just took place like in either New York or Florida. But I guess it's in Leonida in this game. So, which I guess is what the previous games took place in. Like I think Vice City took place in there too. Which, speaking of, that's one of the cities this takes place in. Vice City, as well as the Grass Rivers, which I guess is supposed to be like the Florida Everglades, and then the Leonida Keys, which I guess is supposed to be like the Florida Keys. So, which you do see a lot of scenes in the trailer where like the main characters are riding around on boats and stuff, and I think at one point a hover boat at one point. So I'm guessing for like the Florida Everglades, you can definitely kind of see a lot of similarities there. I mean, this definitely looks like just right out the gate looking at this, I can tell this game is probably going to fucking just blow sales out of the water. Like, I feel like this is definitely going to be a top selling game. I would be shocked if it wasn't. I mean, just because GTA 5, I don't remember if it won Game of the Year or not, but I remember like it. I mean, well, even now they're still re-releasing it, so I think that shows you just how impressive it was, like how much of a technical achievement it was. This looks like it's going to be one of those types of games. Like just from the graphics perspective, like when you see the main character introduced, like Jason Duval and stuff, when he's talking to his landlord, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the landlord is played by the actor Stephen Root from King of the Hill. At least it sounds like him. But yeah, like just on a technical level, this looks really impressive. I think the engine they said this was made on the Rage engine, which I don't know how that compares to like Unreal Engine, but it looks very impressive just graphic wise for how big I'm sure the game's going to be. The plot seems to revolve around a character named Jason Duval, and he goes to pick up his girlfriend, Lucia Caminos, who gets released from the Leonida State Penitentiary, I think is what it's called. And I guess the two of them apparently are like career criminals. Like it shows that they've got a history of like basically just like robbing banks and stuff like that. Basically, both troublemakers. And the story seems to focus on them as they just get into various misadventures, robbing banks, classic Grand Theft Auto stuff. You know, like you would expect from most cast members of Grand Theft Auto, where they're just, they're just always getting in trouble. And of course, you see a lot of vehicles getting stolen in this classic GTA stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely excited for this game. Like I have to admit, like when I saw the first trailer, my reaction to it was lukewarm for the most part. Like I remember seeing it thinking, "Oh yeah, that looks kind of cool." But yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a game I'll probably have to pick up. Maybe not right away, but I think at some point I'm definitely going to get this game. It's been so long since I played GTA. Like it's been probably been close to like 5, 7 years since I played GTA 5. So yeah, I mean, I will admit I have been missing this kind of game, just like those big open sandbox worlds where you can just drive around in all kinds of different vehicles, boats, cars, airplanes. I miss that about GTA 5. So I think this is definitely going to be something to kind of really help me get back into that rhythm of gaming. And it just looks really impressive. It also looks like there's a lot of other options you have in the game that you can do. Like there's stuff you can do besides just running missions. Like it shows at one point Jason is working out on the beach. I remember that from San Andreas. Like you could make CJ, the main character, you could make him work out and you can actually buff up. You could also I remember you could also make him eat a lot of food and make him really fat, which I thought was so funny that they put that much detail into it. I remember I just made CJ like just like super like jacked and stuff in that game. It was awesome. Hopefully there's something like that in this game. I hope they put as many options into this game as there were like in San Andreas and GTA 5. That would be really cool. But I guess you can play between the two characters, Jason and Lucia. So I'm kind of curious to see like how that'll play out. Like if it'll be like GTA 5 where like the three main characters, like each one has like their own unique story elements. I'm assuming it'll be something like that between these two characters in this game. So like where you experience a side of the story from like one character's perspective and then versus the side of the story from the other characters. So that would be interesting. But yeah, like as long as they have like a lot of like extra stuff to do besides just the main missions, that'd be cool. It does look like you can control like you can customize how the characters look quite a bit too. Because I noticed in the trailer, like Jason's character in particular, looked like he had different hairstyles even in that same trailer. So I don't know if that's supposed to be like just different parts of the story, like different time periods or something, maybe like during flashbacks, but it does look like you at least have the option to like kind of change the look of your characters. So that's cool. I'm glad that they're going to have that in there as well. I feel like after San Andreas, they kind of limited that a little bit, like in especially in 4 and GTA 5, I think you could change the look of your characters for the most part, but I think also like from what I remember, and it's been a while, I feel like for the most part, you were still kind of limited on how much you could change the looks of like Franklin and Trevor and stuff like that. So in this one, it looks like maybe they're going to give us at least some options, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, just like the music they play in the trailer, just it's really gorgeous looking. Like I think they did a really good job of at least capturing the feel of like a GTA game. And man, when they play that, when they show the title card with that GTA 6 logo, oof, yeah, I gotta say, they Rockstar's got me really excited for this one. So it definitely kind of gave me like that feeling of like, oh yeah, classic game coming back into the forefront. So There is no doubt in my mind, though, looking at this trailer, that this game is going to sell extremely fucking well. I'm sure at some point I'll pick it up. I would like to wait before it goes on sale, just because I know games are going to get more expensive. But yeah, I'm going to call it right now. I think if this doesn't win Game of the Year for 2026, I think at the very least it's probably going to get quite a few 9, 10 out of 10 scores, masterpiece scores across the board. So yeah, there's no doubt in my mind this is going to be a huge success, both critically and commercially. All right, everyone. I think that's going to conclude tonight's episode. Once again, if you like what you heard, I am on Anchor, Spotify, and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out the show, and I definitely appreciate it. And I will catch you all next time. Take care, everyone.